to the May regular Commissioners meeting. We'll begin with the roll call.
No, Mr. D'Amelio is on his way. Mrs. Hall?
Present.
Mr. Siegel?
Here.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Here.
Oh, man, I'm out of order here. Mr. Wexler?
Here.
I know Mr. Heilman is going to be late, and Mr. Oliva.
Here. We have the opening prayer, which is going to be given by Mary
Jane Kirby.
Jane Kirby from Union Methodist Church.
Good evening, everyone. Let us pray. Oh, gracious God, we've gathered tonight as a community within the community to offer our thanks for the blessings of this community that have so many wonderful resources to share. But even more, we are thankful for the very dedicated and talented individuals who add so much to the richness and the diversity of this township. We thank you, Lord. We ask that you'd bless all the residents of Haverford Township, and we pray that you would give us a spirit of working together to spread the blessing outward into this community and into this world of which we are a part. Our prayer, too, is that you would protect and guide and direct our police and firefighters, township employees, each one of us who serves in so many ways. We pray that you will guide our commissioners and all who share and serve in this evening meeting. May our words, Lord, and our actions display our respect and support for one another and for this rich community. Lord God, may we honor you this evening. Be present with us as we make decisions and find right paths in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You saw the newsletter got out.
Yes,
We got it right out.
that was very nice of you. I truly appreciate it.
The newsletter got out.
All right,
I don't know what you're
Bill?
getting at, I am.
Bill, we'll start with Hilltop.
Okay, Hilltop.
Our proclamations here with Hilltop
Believe it or not,
softball and
it's
Challenger
close to
leagues.
400.
I'd like to ask the people from Hilltop to come forward, please.
It's just so cute.
See you in a while. Always good to see you.
We've got Fred Steigerwald, the president of the Baseball League. Hilltop. Some of the representatives of the fine players there. And I'm proud to do this as the Commissioner of Ninth Ward, which comprises most of the Hilltop area, and Mario's in the Manoa section as well. For those people that don't know, this is the 50th anniversary of the Hilltop Baseball Association.
Oh, how cute.
I'd like to also point out that what a lot of people don't know is that Hilltop's got a very special division, the Challenger division.
Yes.
And that's for kids that have some type of disability, gives them an opportunity to play America's favorite pastime. And it's a great thing to get kids started. And it's just something to watch. You go down to the games at night, you sit there and you see kids of all levels and all abilities that get to play this great game. So, whereas the Board of Commissioners of the Township of Haverford, County of Delaware, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, wishes to recognize one of our own youth baseball, softball, and Challenger leagues in Haverford Township. And whereas, hearty congratulations to the Hilltop Baseball, Softball, and Challenger leagues upon celebrating their 50th anniversary. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Commissioners thanks Hilltop for their commitment to the youth of Haverford Township, especially by allowing all children to play regardless of limitations. Proclaimed the 8th day of April 2013, the Haverford Township Board of Commissioners. Thank you, Fred. Thank you all the volunteers. Thank you guys.
I would just like to point out, this is my daughter right here. Real quick,
Cute.
Gabriella Oliva's with us, Allison Ascareggi, we have Michael Brown, his sister Maggie Brown, and in the red shirt is Matthew Brown. Right? And the two in the dark shirt here is Freddie Steigerwalt, and in the white shirt is Jake Steigerwalt. So they represent from 4 years old straight up to our 11 and 12-year-old division. They are not twins, but I can tell you I am the father of both. I'd like to thank Mike Brown, our Vice President of Baseball is with us tonight, also Bernard Reggie and Lisa Oliva. Thank you. Just real quick, and to Bill and to Mario, Hilltop was started 50 years ago, and it was the Hilltop Civic Association heard a rumor that Bon Air and Central Avenue was going to be turned into a dump. So the Civic Association got together and said, well, how can we get this land? And they requested a permit to start a baseball program for 136 boys. And what that entailed was from 8 to 13 years of age. And for the first 2 seasons, they had no backstop in that area until the township came down and donated the money to build them one back in 1966. And that was 136, 137 players ago. Today we have 854 girls and boys playing, plus an additional 70 challenger players, all under the age of 12 years old. So that's how much we've grown. And Hilltop is solely built on volunteerism. This year alone, we have 66 managers in our league. We have 13 shack coordinators, and just a whole host of individuals with 175 background checks completed this year for all of our staff down there. So we are a volunteer nonprofit organization, and I'd be remiss not to thank Mario, Bill, the commissioners on the board, Tim Denny, Eileen Matola, Eric Gilliard, Jason O'Brien, entire Public Works and Recreation Department for building us a new backstop down at Genter Field, a McDonald facility for this year, introducing 50-70 baseball to Haverford Township for the first year, and I'd like to thank them for their support as well. So thank you, gentlemen. All right. Freddie, Jake, turn around.
Yeah, why don't we go in front? That way you don't have to. Come here. We'll go to that.
All right, why don't you go next to your daughter? It's in center. Turn around, guys. Okay, turn around. Jake, turn around. Stand next to Freddie. It's a crime scene. Jake, let's look at the camera. Smile, everybody smile.
Just so cute. Oh, dear God.
Gorgeous.
Uh-huh.
Great.
You hold this.
I think she looks like her mom.
I'd also like to take a moment to give a plug. They're a volunteer organization. They have a big fundraiser this Saturday night from 6 to 12 at the American Legion Hall at Steel Road and Drexel Avenue there.
Yes, so we look forward to seeing all of you.
I'll be there.
Great, thank you again.
All right.
Hey, boys,
It's National Police Week, Commissioner D'Amelio.
Mario,
Yes.
get up there. Does the committee get up there with them?
Yeah, go ahead.
Come on, get up.
I'm not part of the committee.
Jeff is.
Jeff, you want me to? Yes, yeah, please.
Thank you. As many of you know, I'm always talking about the police and how important they are to the community. I think it's never been more evident than some of what's happened in the last month or two up in Boston and how the police reacted there. So with all that in mind, I'd like to read this proclamation about the National Police Week. Proclaiming National Police Week and Police Officers Memorial Day. Whereas the police officers of Haverford Township have worked devotedly and selflessly on behalf of the people of Haverford Township, regardless of the peril or danger to themselves. And whereas these officers have safeguarded the lives and the property of the residents of Haverford Township. And whereas these men and women, by their patriotic service and their dedicated efforts, have earned the gratitude of the residents of Haverford Township. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, the Commissioners of Haverford Township calls upon its residents to observe the week of May 12th to May 18th, 2013 as Police Week. Be it further proclaimed that the Commissioners of Haverford Township calls upon the community to observe May 13th, 2013 as National Police Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice to the service in their community. Proclaimed this 13th day of May, 2013, Township of Haverford Commissioners by Mario Oliva, President of the Board of Commissioners. Chief? This week, our nation salutes law enforcement officers across the country, especially those officers who were killed in the line of duty. In 2012, the names of 362 officers who died in the line of duty were inscribed on the National Memorial Monument in Washington, D.C., bringing the total number of officers killed to 19,660. This is also the time of year where we recognize one of our own police officers and acknowledge them for outstanding service to Haverford Township. The Officer of the Year Award is presented yearly to the officer who has demonstrated diligent and faithful duty and valuable and extraordinary service performed consistently over the entire year. To receive this award, an officer must be nominated by a supervisor and then must receive the majority vote of 17 members of the supervisory and command staff of the police department. The nominated officer must also meet the required criteria to receive this award, which includes attendance and productivity, letters of merit and commendation, good judgment and leadership, commitment to Haverford Township Police Department and Haverford Township community, and finally, that his performance over the year was in the highest standards of the Haverford Township Police Department and the law enforcement community. This year, the Officer of the Year Award is being awarded to Officer Christopher Viola. Officer Viola was raised and he still resides in Haverford Township. When he parks his police car at the end of his shift, he goes on to drive a fire truck, further protecting the citizens of Haverford Township. As a 10-year veteran firefighter, he has earned the rank of lieutenant with the Brookline Fire Company. His community involvement runs even deeper as he coaches CYO football and is a past program coordinator for Annunciation football. He graduated Widener University with a degree in criminal justice. He joined the police department in 2011, and he is assigned to the patrol division. In the short time he has been a police officer, just 19 months, he has been decorated with 3 distinguished unit citations. These citations were awarded to him for his line of duty actions while confronting armed and dangerous adversaries, which resulted in their arrest. The first involved his response to a domestic call. When Officer Viola entered the house, he was met by a man pointing a gun at him. After a tense standoff with police, the man was disarmed and arrested. The second involved his response to a domestic disturbance shots fired call. When Officer Viola entered the house, he discovered a woman had been shot. The shooter, who was still in the house, was located, disarmed, and arrested. And the third involved his response to a home invasion in progress call. Upon entering the house, he discovered that the 2 female residents had both been stabbed by the intruder and bleeding badly. The intruder was still in the house. He was located, disarmed, and arrested. His patrol sergeants describe him as a quality police officer who consistently produces more than is expected, and a dedicated police officer with the ability to operate effectively under adverse conditions. I totally agree with that assessment. Now my honor to present the 2013 Officer of the Year Award to Officer Christopher Viola. How about a picture with the family here?
Yeah, we can all pull out. Yeah, we'll get out here, we'll slide out. You guys stay in there.
Congratulations.
Our next proclamation.
And, Mario, can I just say that
Yes.
along to come tonight, I don't think this is working, but anyway, in honor of Chris Viola, a lot of the officers here from Haverford Township Police in the back row here. Fellas, raise your hands and say hello to everybody, but these fellas all came along to support Chris in the Haverford Township.
All right, moving on. John Reynolds. Proclamation? John Reynolds?
Okay, here. Come on, Chris.
Got a proclamation?
Oh, it's nice.
Okay, John. Okay. Tina here? Tina, come on up. Well, ladies and gentlemen, oh, now it's working. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're proud to have tonight with us a young man from Haverford Township who basically risked his life to save another life. And this is called Tired and True. The Board of Commissioners of Haverford Township, County of Delaware, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, is honored to recognize Haverford Township resident and plumber John Reynolds. On Tuesday, and this was in the papers, the Inquirer, the Daily Times, all the newspapers, on Tuesday, March the 19th, 2013, John was driving his truck along Kelly Drive in Philadelphia when he saw a vehicle go right off the road and into the Schuylkill River. John, with his mallet in hand, jumped into the Schuylkill River in a courageous attempt to save another man's life. It is the Board of Commissioners' belief that John Reynolds went above and beyond trying to save someone else's life. May courage follow you the rest of your days. Our blessings go with you, John. Proclaim this 13th day of April. Well, this is, now we're into May, but this was last month. Township of Haverford, Mario Oliva, the president, Jeff Heilman, Steve D'Amelio, Jane Hall, Dan Siegel, Larry Holmes, Jim McGarity, Chris Connell, Bill Wexler, and just to mention a few other things, I think everybody knows John last year, unfortunately, had a terrible fire down at his house, and he knows what it's like to have people come and help him. And John, for all his efforts, went and put that forth to try and save this man's life. And in doing that, John just didn't walk away without any injuries and all that. He got about 20 stitches, John? Yeah, 20 stitches. He was banged up pretty bad from it, and he could have died himself. So, John, say a few words.
I really don't have any words. I'm not gonna lie to you, Jim.
We're now going to have Tina come up for a picture with us.
He's good.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, now let's do the Irish of Havertown.
I'd invite the representatives from the Irish of Havertown to step forward. We did this last month, but they were not able to attend, so just fitting that the men in green come up, I guess, is the, and Jimmy, you're here?
Yeah.
Okay. Nisi in a sport coat, that's unusual.
One of the founding members, I have to.
Again, folks, this is a pretty big deal. These gentlemen, through their volunteer time, did the winning float in the Philadelphia St. Patrick's Day Parade. And the Haverford Township Board of Commissioners is proud to honor the Irish of Havertown, winner of the George Costello Award for the most outstanding float in the 2013 Philadelphia St. Patrick's Day Parade, marking the 16th time that the Irish of Havertown has taken this prize. Congratulations on this outstanding achievement. The Board of Commissioners of Haverford Township, Mario Oliva, President, Jeff Heilman, Vice President. Gentlemen, congratulations. One more time.
Okay, go, okay, I'm going to do Chris's now. All right? So once you get that.
We got them. Thank you very much. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Congratulations again.
Thank you. Take that.
All right, and last but not least, Thomas J. Parkinson from Troop 434. Come on up.
Mom and Dad, too.
Yeah, Mom and Dad can come up too.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to read this in a moment.
You want me to hold that?
Congratulations. And my borrowed glasses, my backup glasses, where the other ones went, I don't know. The Eagle Scout Award is Scouting's highest rank, and it's also one of its most familiar icons. The men who have earned the Scouting Award count it among their most treasured possessions. Americans from all walks of life know that being a scout, being an Eagle Scout, is a great honor. The award is more than just a badge, it is a state of being. The requirements are that you have to earn 21 merit badges where the scout must demonstrate scouting spirit, service to others, and leadership skills. Once an Eagle Scout, always an Eagle Scout. Scouting elevates a young boy into a man. But it is it's the Scout's character that elevates the man into an Eagle. And notable Scouts, such as the 38th President of the United States, Gerald R. Ford, New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg, who was also the founder of Bloomberg LP, and also 4 astronauts. One of those astronauts was Neil A. Armstrong. So in July of 1969, when the Eagle landed on the moon, the Eagle surely did land on the moon. So you become part of the ranks of these scouts that have gone before you. And the character also comes from the parents. Kathy and Bill have been involved in the community for many, many years. Wherever their children were, they were. They were always a part of it, whether it's a school board, civic activities, programs, and committees, and of course, Bill involved in the band, and what have you, and also trains at the Grange. That's who brings you the trains at the Grange during Christmas time. So without further ado, if I could please read this proclamation. Whereas the Board of Commissioners, the Township of Haverford, County of Delaware, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, takes great pleasure in acknowledging notable achievements of young adults in the community. And whereas the Board of Commissioners wish to applaud Thomas Jurgen Parkinson, cool name, of the Boy Scouts of America, Troop 434, Lanark, PA, for earning the rank of Eagle Scout. And whereas the path to Eagle Scout includes an extensive service project that the Scout plans, organizes, leads, and manages. Thomas's service project included the design and construction of a tool shed for volunteers to use at the Riverbend Environmental Education Center, Gladwin, PA. And with the help of volunteers, they purchased, assembled walls, roof and floor of the structure site, then transported and built the shed at Riverbend. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Board of Commissioners, the Township of Haverford, County of Delaware, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, that said Board of Commissioners hereby acknowledges and congratulates you for your many contributions to your community, with your long hours and dedicated work. Our blessings go with you as you face new challenges. Proclaimed the 20th day of April, AD 2013, which is when the ceremony was. So that morning, I was over his house in his living room presenting him the proclamation so he could take it with you. Thank you for coming back today, and the Board of Commissioners congratulate you in your
Okay, while we set up the presentation, any of you who would like to get up and go, you can go. That includes the violas up here. You guys can sneak out.
I want to stay.
You can stay if you'd like, but if you'd like to go,
Yeah, how about it?
thank you. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, gentlemen, for coming, and ladies.
Congratulations, Chris.
Okay. Right? No. Yeah, I'll take a look. Dan Siegel will be giving us a PowerPoint presentation from the Property Committee. Shortly.
No, it's, I just can't get it to come up.
Luncheon, dinner?
Ready?
Nope.
That time of year.
Yeah. Who's this one? You gotta go to that.
Without the graphics,
You want to do the township auditor update while we're doing this?
Yeah, Jonathan wants to get and do it,
Why don't we do that? Why don't we do the township's auditor update while we're waiting for this to
Oh,
restart?
look at that, you hit it, look at that.
Do it right from there. Hold on a second.
use that one, John.
Stop, you got him on camera?
My hair look good?
He's ready.
Where'd they go? Not used to doing this from the table. So I asked the township finance director, I don't know, probably about 10, 15 questions this month.
Who's this?
We had a good conversation earlier. All the questions that I had were answered to my satisfaction. I have a few invoices to take a look at here, so if anything comes up, I will address it with her. So with that, commissioners, unless I have any questions from the report I distributed earlier, I have nothing further. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for a job well done. Is it the one that says 0? There you go.
I don't know which one it
I think it's the one that says 0.
Thanks, Chris. The one above.
is. I think it's.
The one above 0? Okay. There we go. All right. Here we go. Here's Dan Siegel's presentation.
Thank you. That's all. What I want to do tonight is to bring the public and the board up to date on the.
Get you better.
Thanks, Bill.
On the activities of the Township Property Committee. Over the last 4 years, the committee has been evaluating township facilities, and approximately 2 years ago, we made recommendations for modernizing and updating township facilities. The current property committee, I chair, but the other members of the committee have been invaluable, Jane Hall, Jim McGarity, and Bill Wexler, in doing our work. You may recall that 2 years ago, we made recommendations in terms of what property needs to be updated, a variety of different things, and as a result of that, the committee has gone further, and this year we met and determined that this is the appropriate time to recommend to this board that we move forward with the plan, or at least present it to the board for the board's approval. In so doing, the property committee convened a working group to come up with more definitive information concerning what the township needs in terms of facilities, et cetera. This was a group that we convened for approximately 3 to 4 months to look at the recommendations, to make appropriate recommendations, and those are all the members. As you can see, or if you don't know all the names, they include engineers, architects, representatives from the police department, representatives from the board and from the township, with the goal of creating a diverse and highly qualified group of people who could make these recommendations. We also determined as part of our work that with regard to township facilities, we needed some additional assistance, and we retained Chris Gelman, who will be speaking, to make certain that the information we had, that the figures we were working with were both accurate and realistic, both for the present and the future. And what you're going to see now is essentially the recommendations of our working group, and part of this is relevant because tonight there will be an intent resolution, and I'm not going to get into all the details in terms of the nitty-gritty, but what the public needs to be aware of is this is at least would set in motion certain financing from the past years and also start to address the planning that we need to do to make these changes to the township. The current status of the township and our facilities, and we've made this clear for years, is that the first priority is the public works yard and the vehicle repair garage, which has undersized bays. The conditions there are far from acceptable. They have inadequate electrical service, inadequate storage. Inadequate is essentially a very good word to describe the way these people have worked for many years. As a result of this, we've recommended, and it's the sort of the least expensive but one of the most important changes we can make, to build a new public works facility. Second area of major need was the police department, which is running at in terms of its space and utilizing roughly 55%. It needs 20,000 square feet. They have 11,000 just to do what they need to do in a proper facility. What the working group found most interesting was just the conditions that the police work in, technologically, mechanically, etc., codes issues, you name it. The police department have worked in conditions that it's admirable that they've been able to do such a good job for so long. And the third facility that we've talked about is the township building, which also is grossly undersized. It's approximately 10,000 square feet, where we need a 20,000 square foot facility. The mechanical systems are inadequate. The technology is inadequate. It is not fully code compliant, has significant ADA and other issues. Conference room facilities are far from ideal. So we had recommended a joint township administration building, a township municipal building, which would combine all of the police, all of the administrative facilities, eliminate the need for having them in disparate locations from the township here, the rec department somewhere else, and the police station. The first priority, as I said, was the vehicle maintenance and repair facility. With regard to that, I'd like to call up Lori Hanlon-Widup, who's the assistant township manager. We have some slides that show what our recommendations along with the projected costs for this facility.
Hi there. There is an overhead picture that you're looking at of the Public Works facility. There are two large steel buildings that are at the bottom of the photo. Then above that is Public Works offices and some garages, and then above that is just above, toward the top of the picture, you see the fleet maintenance garages. Those garages are some of the bays are subject to inundation during heavy rains. The electric service is very much inadequate. There is some equipment that cannot be hooked up as a result of the lack of capacity, electrical capacity. The building itself is only partially insulated, only partially heated. And it is undersized. A lot of the big pieces of equipment that have to be maintained by the township, fire trucks, trash trucks, things of that nature, have to be worked on outside of the building. There isn't enough room in the building. So rain, sleet, snow, the mechanics are working outside. We're proposing to construct that little L-shaped building that you see in white. That building is actually proposed to be a steel building. The idea is to get the most bang for the buck, come in with something with heavy insulation, but a functional utility building. It's basically a big garage, a big open garage that will help us to meet the needs and keep the fleets in service. If you want to go to the next one.
Yeah.
This just shows, and it's hard to see because it's just the outline. You really can't see it from here. The outline of the proposed facility in connection with the pool. the Hilltop Swim Club. You could see the Hilltop Swim
Right.
Club, and then the outline.
There's
is-
the outline.
Very good. You can see
I
it.
could barely
I can't
see
see
it.
it from here. But that was just to give you approximate location. The blue route is located on the other side of the creek. The creek is shown in blue. These are the construction costs. Now, we've done a lot of detailed investigation. We've reached out to steel building manufacturers. We've consulted with Pannoni Associates and have gotten some basic design costs for the building foundation, including a 40-foot-long pit in the large truck bays, overhead cranes being built into the garage, the building itself, the electrical system, including an upgrade to the entire facility. We would have to not just bring in new facilities or new services for the new facility, but also to upgrade some of the current. We have, for instance, a second pump for the brine station that can't be hooked up because there isn't enough electrical capacity. So we're attempting to address some of those issues as well. There's some site work that's going to have to be done. There isn't gravity flow to the sanitary sewer, so grinder pump station is proposed. Again, Pannoni Associates came up with those numbers for us. We got some tentative numbers from mechanical contractors. HVAC, plumbing, some electrical fit out came through Pannoni. Carpentry work for the mezzanine in the building to build the crew quarters and with part storage beneath. We had a subtotal that is proposed here. We added a contingency fee. It's a pretty decent contingency fee. It was recommended by the township engineer, and we came up with this total that you see before you. So $1.167 million for the new fleet maintenance facility and upgrading the electrical.
With regard to the municipal building, and I'll call up Chris Gauman, but what I just wanted to explain historically where we were with this is we had conceptual designs, we had an historic sort of informal survey done of the township's current space and future space needs. But if you're going to prepare and plan for a municipal building, you need to have realistic numbers, appropriate studies done, et cetera. And we were able to call upon Chris Gauman, who's also on the Planning Commission, to assist us with that and make certain that we're planning the appropriate size facility both for now and the future. And I'll turn this over to Chris.
Thank you. As we began this review, the first thing we had to look at was the site itself. Everybody recognizes the site. There's a stadium, the ball fields to the left, and the existing police building to the lower right-hand corner. In terms of zoning, the ball fields require 45 spaces. The stadium, under current zoning, requires 170 spaces. We felt that was kind of heavy in terms of the requirement. We discussed it with the staff at the stadium, and they felt that they needed more like 60 spaces. We also discussed that with Pannoni, who indicated with their traffic engineer that 60 was probably a good number to use. In terms of the township building and the police station, the township portion requires 80 spaces by current zoning, and the police require 56. In terms of their needs, they felt it was more, the township needed more like 48 spaces, and the police force required 94. So that's a total of 247 spaces that are required for the 4 functions on that site. Currently, there is 159 spaces there for use. That also includes there's a space for the skate park and the recycling area too. So after we analyzed the zoning, the next step we took was to sit down with the staff and determine how we could come up with the most efficient building shape and to see how it would fit on the site. Got the next. We did this stacking diagram with input from the police and as well as township officials. The police force felt that the best way they would function was to maintain a floor that was basically for the force itself on the lowest level, and then a middle level which would be for the public functions and the administration. So we ended up on the first floor with a footprint of about 16,000 square feet. We stacked the remaining 8,000 square feet for the police force administration area, and adjacent to that on the yellow was the township spaces, which would be all the public spaces, the meeting rooms, departments that the public usually would go to more often. And that was about another 8,000 square feet, so stacked very neatly over the lower 16,000 square feet. The darker band in the middle is the spaces they would share, corridors, toilet facilities, that kind of thing. And the upper yellow on the third floor is the administration spaces for the administration building. So you end up with about a 16,000 square foot footprint that you must accommodate someplace on the site. And this is the plan that we came up with to look and see how it fit. We analyzed the site, and it seemed like the best place for the building was in the lower left-hand corner. Right along that edge, there is a one-story drop that currently exists. We were looking for a place on the site that the building would fit down nicely without having to regrade a lot. That is a one-story drop. You could enter in on the main plaza level and the middle level, and the police force could be on the lower level. So in that area behind there, below the police, is parking that accommodates all their spaces. So they would have a separate parking area on a lower level that would have a link to Manoa Road as a private drive. In the middle area, we reconfigured the parking there to accommodate and see if we can make it more efficient. And we also put parking around the stadium to allow for spaces adjacent to it and to keep that traffic away from the middle of the parking area. Right around the stadium, we were able to accommodate 50 of the 60 spaces that they're looking for. We also added a second drive right adjacent to that, so you can come in off of Darby and go right into those parking areas. The dotted area on the lower right-hand corner is actually where the police building is now. We're suggesting that you repave that and pick up more spaces there too. So in this plan, we have 350 spaces, which is about 70 spaces more than you need. But it would seem to appear that the area there would accommodate the township building and its periphery functions, and also increase the parking that's on the site. One of the things to consider too when you're thinking about parking is the fact that a lot of these spaces in the middle could be used at nighttime when these other functions, such as the police station and the township building, are low use. So there's a good middle area there for a lot that would accommodate the parking for most of those functions in that space there.
And just to clarify, I mean, this is a tentative design.
Yes. Right. We haven't considered things like stormwater management, those kind of things. This is purely a study of how we could fit a building of 16,000 square foot in any shape that would work on the site with the parking that was required.
And the final slide outlines what the cost of the building would be. I don't know if you want to comment on this in terms of the cost, contingency, demolition, et cetera.
Again, we did some rough numbers. As Commissioner Siegel indicated, that our primary charge was to determine feasibility. Is it feasible to build at the site? Will it fit and will it function properly? The costs were something we sort of added in because we thought it was the next question that would come. Based on 43,000 square feet, we were able to determine that $275 per square foot was an appropriate number, and how we reached that determination was Mr. Gauman had a conversation with a gentleman, a construction manager, who's engaged presently in the construction of a new police facility in Phoenixville. And it is a smaller project, but it's almost identical to what's being proposed here. There, the per square foot price is a lesser amount, but we have some unknown site conditions that we're not quite sure of, and so out of an abundance of caution, we added an extra $25 a square foot to the $25 square foot site work, and came up with the $275. That was his recommendation, and we thought that that was a good recommendation. We also added a really heavy contingency. And part of the reason that we have such a high contingency is we're not sure about the exact costs for the relocation of the fueling facility. The police department has an underground storage tank and a gasoline pump just outside of the office building for the police cars. We might be able to close that tank in place, or we might have to excavate it, and we're not sure of that. So we added a pretty high contingency. Joe Celia from the Codes Enforcement Office met with the contractor to estimate the demolition costs associated with the police building, and was able to come up with, he reviewed it for hazardous materials abatements and demolition costs based on square footage, and came up with a price of $150,000, including the removal of the materials. So that's where we got the total. It's just under $15 million. And again, that includes the site work and the construction management fee.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Just a couple questions. Did we consider approaching the county at all about the magisterial district justice courts and moving them in there, that we might be able to get some rental money from them, if possible, different?
Well, we did, and we had some, I think, township manager spoke to Mike Madron.
Yes, I did. Unfortunately, they already have a contract in place. I think it goes for another 6 years.
Okay.
In addition, with the amount of parking space and facilities they would need, we don't believe that we would be able to
okay.
meet their needs.
There's heavy parking space requirements for each DJ.
Okay.
Okay. You have one question? Good.
I noticed there on that layout, is there any provision in there for the Veterans Memorial site?
None of that's been changed, I don't believe.
No,
That's not been touched.
It's still there.
That's still intact.
That's going to remain there?
Yes.
It's going to remain in the center.
Okay.
Yeah, if you,
Is that what the triangle was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
once, I'll just show you.
There it is right there.
You can see it right in here.
Okay, okay.
All the existing fields would remain as well, and so all of that would remain, and we would increase the parking dramatically by reorienting it essentially.
But
No.
what in essence are we losing though, Dan? We're going to lose a few things there.
I believe it's the skate park
And the recycling.
and the recycling, and that would be all.
And we need that for parking, right?
We need it for the building and for parking for the police. We were attempting to give them a segregated parking facility just to secure their vehicles. So we're going to need that just to accommodate that use. We'll lose the skate park, we'll lose the recycle bins. Now that we have single stream recycling, we had a conversation with Larry Gentili, and he felt that there was not as much of a need, and we certainly would look at relocating any of the bins that might still be in use to another facility.
Now, are you talking about relocating the skate park someplace, or just doing away with it?
That wasn't part of what
Okay.
we were tasked to do
That's not part
feasibility.
of our
Okay.
charge.
Okay.
Okay.
Because now we're going to have all the skateboard people skating up here. That'll be the next meeting.
Outside the township.
But that's not the property
Not to
committee.
be addressed tonight.
Okay.
Commissioner
Dan,
D'Amelio?
did you say what was going to happen to this building?
That's not part of sort of the charge of what we were looking at. We were looking at the planning. The township, this board, would have to determine what would happen here, because all of the functions here, obviously, would be moved. Similarly, same with the rec department. So, you know, I'd be speculating to say what would happen to the township building and this building, but there are, you know, many options.
I mean,
599 Glendale is what,
I'm sorry?
when he says rec department, it would be the building down at 599.
Right. No, I just don't know why you didn't include this, because it would have something to do with the cost then, right?
It would potentially be a reduction if you sell the building, if you do whatever, but that's not what we were looking
Part
at.
of planning, I would think, when you're doing this and that, no?
I don't, I think at this point, it would be too preliminary to make that determination. I don't see the need, we don't see the need. The idea was to meet all of the township needs.
Right, and I
it's-
understand, I'm not trying to be difficult, I'm just
No.
looking at the cost and
Right, I
trying to say,
understand.
well, if you did know if you knew what you were doing with this building, I mean, if we were selling it or whatnot, it would offset some of the, I mean, you're looking at
Absolutely.
$14 million, I think, plus another million for the other, but it's $15 million. So I'm just saying, even if you got, I don't know, $1 million, it's $1 million off. But, and the skateboard, like Commissioner Heilman stated, I mean, I would hope that there's some discussion
Yeah. And
soon about where you're going to place that, and have Tim Denny and Larry involved in that, because
As Lori just said to me, and it's true, we can easily commission a market study to see what would be the best alternative for this facility, because we did not consider alternative uses for any of the facilities that sort of would be consolidated, other than obviously the police station would be knocked down for parking and other things, because that facility is of no value.
Once you get a preliminary, if we're going to go there, then
Yeah.
you would then go to that site.
Yeah, because the next step would be, as part of the funds that we're addressing tonight, would be to at least begin the preliminary, the true planning of this, you know.
So
as we
tonight
move forward.
is just the planning piece, it's not to okay.
No,
the-
tonight we would not be okaying any of that, it would
Just
just
so
be-
that everybody's aware,
Yeah,
you know.
Because it's a $10 million intent resolution, and some of that money was earmarked from last year, some is for the Public Works facility, and then it's for a variety of things, including essentially what I'll call the seed costs, to really begin the hard work that has to be done, that Chris talked about, that Lori talked about, to make certain that this can work and can work within this budget.
So one final question, and, you know, is there any place that you could look at that maybe we can lease? For example, out near Genthert Field, there's that building there that has a lot of empty floors on it.
Yeah, you're talking about Raymond Drive, the industrial.
Raymond Drive, 1 Raymond Drive.
We didn't look at leasing, and from a practical,
I'm sorry, Bill?
Two floors, RCN occupies a whole floor of that building, and the Akabuchi Group occupies about 2/3 of the
Well,
site.
yeah, I know they're there.
and part of the sort of idea behind placing a municipal building there is it keeps it essentially central to the township, accessible on all the main roads. It's accessible from Eagle, Darby, Westchester Pike. It puts all the township facilities in one place and doesn't require residents to sort of have to navigate around. And, you know, I think it's more important that the township own its facility
Than lease
than be
anywhere.
subject to landlords and all of those issues. That's my personal view. I can't speak for the rest of the committee, but I would much prefer that the township own its facility. We know our hard costs.
Well,
We know where we're
I
going.
don't disagree with you, but I think, you know, we have to question, and so
Legitimate
someone out
question.
there may say, why don't they look at that? And now we know why we wouldn't.
Yeah, that's a legitimate question. I'm not saying that. I'm just
No, I know.
providing my take
you.
on it essentially at
Thank
this
you,
stage.
Commissioner. Thank you, Dan.
Okay.
And now we have a short presentation from John Viola to give us an update on the U.S. Open.
Thank you, Commissioner. The U.S. Open starts in 28 days. The police department has extensive security and traffic plans in place with the expected arrival of 25 to 30,000 volunteers and spectators. And keeping these plans fluid, making changes as circumstances dictate. The USGA has a comprehensive transportation plan moving these spectators to and from the remote parking spaces. We have and continue to meet with our commissioners and neighborhood groups to explain detours and address any concerns. We should see the detour signs start to go up around the last week of May, with traffic press releases to follow very shortly after that. Currently, we have hundreds of police officers assigned to the event, and with the cooperation and understanding of everyone, expect an exciting week with the national spotlight on Haverford Township. If anyone should have any questions or concerns during these times leading up to the Open, you can direct them to 2013open@habpd.org, and we'll usually answer those questions in a couple of hours. And that's been our conduit for answering questions, because without the phone calls and voicemails left, and one of the three of us, myself, Lieutenant Hagan, or Officer Howard answers those questions and tries
Very quickly.
very quickly. We feel that this is the best way to keep things moving. So we've had a number of neighborhood meetings and with good concerns. I think we straightened most of our problems out to date.
Now, if we have residents who don't have email or who don't use email or don't...
They can still call the police station.
Call the police station. Okay.
Just and direct it to one of us, and we'll be more than glad to answer the question.
Chris, you have a question?
I do. Deputy Chief, could you also include the situation with US 1?
Yes.
As part of the presentation here, please.
The bridge at the P&W at Grove and Township was scheduled to be starting repair last June. For some reason, it was delayed. We have no idea why it was delayed. And the township manager got a letter about 3 weeks ago saying it was going to be closed last week with one lane of traffic northbound and southbound, to our astonishment. Larry got on the phone immediately with PennDOT and voiced our concerns. So with that, PennDOT has agreed to reopen the township line, all 4 lanes during that week of the open to alleviate any additional traffic concerns we may have. So it was a major issue for us.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you.
Right.
Anybody else?
I just want to.
Dan?
I'd like to emphasize to the public, because there's as much misinformation out there at times as information. And as Deputy Chief Viola has said, he and Officer Howard primarily respond quickly and provide accurate information. And I just want to ask the question because it's come up in my ward so frequently in the last week or two. Have all of this, does the township's quote-unquote plan include all of the streets that are either being closed or where access is being limited?
Yes.
Okay. And anyone with those questions can contact you, Officer Howard.
Lieutenant Hagan.
Or Lieutenant Hagan, and they'll get the correct answer.
That's correct.
Okay. And you guys have been great. I mean, I've fielded close to 400 emails since March back and forth with residents, and you have responded to all of them with
As late as 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I thought I was the only one who didn't
them is pretty
sleep.
funny sometimes.
No, it's
Gets them at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning.
So, you know, I want to commend you because you've been incredibly responsive. I don't know when you're sleeping.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate
I
it.
heard again from the USGA the other day, it said to me they have never received this much cooperation from any municipality ever.
Well, I have to say that, you know, we are the front people for the council along with Lori, but without the cooperation and the open-endedness from the commissioners to allow us to do our job without any interference at all and make the decisions and try and keep you informed, it's a big help for us also. So it also comes from the elected officials, not just us.
Thank you. And
Thank you very much. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
We appreciate
I
it.
want to give a little plug for the USGA and Marion, who have gone out of their way to do everything first class here. And anytime we had a concern, they've taken care of it.
That's correct, they have.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And now we'll start the citizens forum. Tom Kelly is our first speaker. Music Festival.
I'm Tom Kelly. I'm the chairman of the Haverford Music Festival, and I'm here for 3 reasons tonight: to inform the commissioners of the plan for the Haverford Music Festival this year, to invite your feedback and suggestions, and to ask you to embrace and promote the Haverford Music Festival in each of your wards. I'm a 24-year resident of Haverford Township. My family and I have been on Hathaway Lane. I also own business here. I have Kelly Music Research, which has been here since 1991, and I have a platform of internet radio stations which just started 3 years ago called iRadio Philly. My family also runs a nonprofit called Kelly Music for Life, and what Kelly Music for Life does is it utilizes our years of experience in music and radio and concerts to help promote and produce music events that benefit the local communities, and in this case, the Haverford Music Festival. This year, our event will take place on Saturday, September 7th, from noon to 9:30 p.m. Our mission is to produce a fun, family-friendly music event that can be enjoyed by the residents and businesses in Haverford Township, township-wide. The Haverford Music Festival also serves as a fundraiser for the Haverford Township Civic Council and its member groups. Since our inception 2 years ago, our focus has been on controlled growth. We have worked closely with the Haverford Township Police Department, the township management, civic organizations, and a large number of volunteers from all across Haverford Township. And together we have put together a festival that has become very popular very quickly. This year we plan to operate on the same footprint as we have in years 1 and 2. We're planning 3 outdoor stages and 1 indoor stage. There will be a wide variety of music genres, everything from jazz and rock and folk and classical music, oldies, pop, and a whole lot more. Many of the performers on our stages will again be from this township or have some connection to the township. We're also planning children's activities like a moon bounce, hooping, face painting, that sort of thing. In addition to the businesses located in the festival area, the immediate footprint, other businesses from Haverford Township and beyond will also be there as vendors selling food, goods, or just spreading the word about their business. In the future, I believe that the Haverford Music Festival can continue to grow and expand to include more of the township and help build civic pride and add a valuable artistic and cultural identity to Haverford Township. I request and encourage you to embrace the Haverford Music Festival and promote participation in this event among the residents and businesses in your wards. Thank you. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Great job. Next, we have Nicole McLean from the dog park.
Remembered the three-minute limitation this time, so I wrote it all down. I'm not asking for any money this time. We just wanted to come and take a minute and give you an update on the fundraising efforts of the HRDP Fundraising Committee for the Dog Water Fountains. We started fundraising back in October with events such as pet pictures with Santa, bake sales, cold weekends sitting at a table taking donations, selling home-baked dog treats, chip clips, 50-50 chances, and tickets to our beef and beer. This was accomplished by a small fundraising committee of only 12 people, but to date we have raised a total of $5,098. We are very proud of this huge milestone because with the matching funds that you, our commissioners, have committed to us, puts our total over $10,000, and we are not done yet. We are still collecting donations most weekends at HRDP. We are currently waiting on 2 final bids from local plumbers to install the fountains and hope to break ground as early as the end of June. We plan to come back to your meeting next month, if you'll have us, to present you with a small token of our appreciation and gratitude. But I'd like to say from the bottom of our hearts, we thank you. That's it. Any questions?
Go ahead.
I'm just a little confused. Did we commit funds to the?
That came from the, go ahead, Tim. You want to come
Okay.
up?
Just want to make sure I'm a little in the dark here.
No.
Yeah, I didn't remember our vote on this.
Dark in the bar.
Oh.
Okay. You want to come up?
In the dog park.
He answered all these questions.
I remembered that one.
Yes, Commissioner Hall, at the last park board meeting, the township has a fund called the Neighborhood Park Improvement Fund, and that fund is for when a developer develops a piece of land, they have to put aside open space or money in lieu of open space. So it's outside of the operating budget, and traditionally that money has been used for organizations, civic groups, little leagues, that kind of thing. Playground, when a group raises X amount of money, and then that money has been used traditionally to match the money that the organization raised. So at the last park board meeting, after discussing with Larry and Commissioner Oliva, I took it to the park board that I thought this was a fitting cause that they could recommend that neighborhood park improvement funds could be used for this purpose, to match the money that they raise.
Okay, so this is going to be a dog fountain?
Probably Nicole can explain it better than I can. but
I listened to it last time. I was just trying to figure out. I've never really seen one, to be honest, unless they have them in the city or something.
Yes,
The only thing I'm concerned about,
Dog water fountain, yes.
Right, is standing water. That's the only thing I'm concerned about. And if it flows like a fountain, or if there's, I just...
Flows like a fountain. Nicole can probably explain it better than I can, but that's my understanding. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yes.
No, we do that during discussion. This is the forum, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask that question. It's fine. Thanks. We can get it later.
Okay. Mr. Houseworth.
Now, this is the agenda. On the agenda, we've just had this presentation about the proposed new, my name is Richard E. Houseworth of 129 Landover Road. Just one quick, I estimate your new plans would be roughly $18 million at a minimum. That is all your ideas. And it's always going to be cost overruns in every construction project. Just real quick, there's about 18,000 properties in Haverford Township that pay taxes. Now, we all pay different rates according to our assessments. But we're talking about, right off the bat, $1,000 a property for this program. Pretty close to it. Now, what I'd like to know, did we have a real professional space planning firm come in and do this study? All my life, I've been around construction and design. I'm not an architect, I'm not an engineer. But I've done a lot of work with those firms. And what I did find over about 30-some years in experience in that field, municipal, county, state, and federal offices and buildings are very exorbitant on space and expense. Go to private industry, it's a different thing. But that's one thing. The other thing I want to talk about tonight was, why is it the Philadelphia Inquirer can put out a map showing what roads are going to be closed? Of course, they didn't tell you what time they're going to be closed. I mean, from, say, 8 in the morning or till 7 at night. But what I find rather appalling, all of Haverford Road is closed by Haverford College there. That goes from Ardmore up to College. That whole village that has been built in there is going to be for social events only. It has nothing to do with the golfers, the press, or anything like that. It's all corporate recreation centers. Now, the other thing, we heard that there was plans to lease out part of the polo field, or rent it, whatever you want to call it, for parking. I haven't heard any more about it. I haven't heard how much we would benefit from it. Now, the other question, I'm very surprised, have you ever, you commissioners, ever driven around the golf club road? That's the road that faces the, comes off of the front of the Marion Golf Club. And of course, those homes all face what will be the 18th and 17th hole. Here, these homes have leased out their front lawns. I don't mean just for a little tent or a few chairs. There is multi-million-dollar construction going on over there. It's temporary, with enormous floors, enclosures, air conditioning, great big standby generators for current. Now, I'd like to know if it was reported a couple of those homes are getting $75,000 to $100,000 for that.
It's not true.
What benefits are we going to get from that? How did it get past zoning so fast that they could go in there and put that? If you don't think we want to try, drive by there. It is shocking. There's at least over 100,000 square feet. Now, the part of the other big project is right on the golf course property. That's private property, but still it's a gigantic. I'm not talking about a little room, about a room the size of this. I'm talking rooms 6, 8, 10 times bigger than this room. I would like very much to know. And then another little question. How many gratuity tickets or passes has this township received from the United States Golf Association? If so, could we sell them or raffle them off or something to help raise money? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hausworth? Michelle Avery?
Michelle Alvery, 134 Hastings Avenue. I'd just like to commend you on amending the code for solicitation and having it cut off at dusk. I come from a neighborhood that has a fair number of senior citizens, and it's a constant concern of mine and my neighbors, the number of people that knock on our door after dark and literally scare the daylights out of the senior citizens. So I think it's great that you're going to change that and make it so it ends at dusk all year round. I just ask if you could reiterate when you advertise this that these people are supposed to have a permit. It's the first word out of my mouth every time someone knocks on the door is, do you have your permit? And if it's not with you, then please go away and don't go to another house on the street. Because people are concerned. We know we've had some burglaries, and people are concerned their houses are getting cased for someone to come back after they've looked around and seen what's in there. So I'd just like to ask that we emphasize they have to have their permit on them. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay. Now we have the open forum. Anybody on this side would like to speak about a agenda item only? This side? All on this side? Mr. Kennedy.
Good evening. I'm Brian Kennedy from 1417 Leadham Road. I'm here to speak about the farmers market ordinance. And actually, I'm here as the president of the Haverford Township Farmers Market Association, but I'm also here to speak on behalf of Jess and Mike Hawthorne, owners of Kaya's. A lot's been talked about the business, and this is a letter from a business owner that I wanted to read to you. Board members of Haverford Township, my husband and I own Kaya's Fusion Casino on Brookline Boulevard in Havertown. From the very beginning of establishing a restaurant, we've always utilized the Oakmont's farmers market as a source. We have built the concept of our business around our preference to serve fresh, local products as often as possible. As passionate restaurateurs, we feel fortunate that we have access to such a market as the one here in Havertown. We feel farmers markets in general add a center air of class to a community. People that frequent farmers markets tend to be more educated and of a higher socioeconomic status. Hence, it's fact the Oakmont Farmers Market adds positively to the quality of life to the residents of Havertown that have come to both appreciate and enjoy having access to such fresh products. Purchasing from these vendors also helps keep capital in the surrounding area rather than spending money on products that are flown in from overseas, and in addition, reduces our carbon footprints. I've heard in the past a small handful of Havertown residents are anti-market due to the traffic which it brings on Wednesday afternoons. I would say if you choose to live in a highly populated suburb near a major city, traffic and parking is going to be an ongoing aspect of life that's never avoidable. Traffic in the area around Eagle Road is not necessarily a bad thing either for the small business on that strip. People are forced to slow down and take notice of what's around them, as well as possibly park and walk a couple blocks. The swell of population to the market brings that area is a positive thing for Havertown business owners. It is definitely my opinion as a business owner that strives to contribute positively to this community every day that the Oakmont Farmers Market should remain where it is for many years to come. Thank you tonight in listening to my statement for your thoughtful presentation. Sincerely, Jessica Hawthorne. I'd also like to add that the market opens on Wednesday, and I'd like to invite all the commissioners to the opening. We will just have a brief ceremony with Pastor McGann. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. What time does the market open?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
Grace Chapel.
At Grace Chapel. Okay. For Tom Kelly, the Music Festival, again, it's a great community event that we have. It is Saturday, September 7th. Just wanted to remind everybody about that. And for the dog park, Nicole, would you like to come up and explain these fountains, please?
Okay, you had a question on how the fountains work. They work very, very similar to people fountains. The small dog park is a bowl, and it has a lever or a step pump on it. You step on it, it fills with water, it allows the dogs to drink, and then it drains into a drain pit underneath. The large dog park has the same concept, but it'll go into a trough so that many dogs can drink water at the same time, and that will also drain into a pit. So there is no runoff or anything that would go, off into, the surrounding areas.
No standing water, excuse me, and no standing water?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else?
Anything?
And commissioners you do understand this that does not come out of our general fund.
That's what my concern was. Thank you.
Okay, for Mr. Hausworth?
Yeah, Mr. Hausworth, thank you. I can answer his questions. I'm glad to see that the Inquirer and the local papers have been helping our police department putting some of those maps out. As everyone on this board and the community is well aware, our police department has been working on this initiative for well over the last year, if not more. Our maps, the road closures, they've been on our webpage. We've been having them on our cable access well over for a month now. In fact, if you open up our webpage, you'll see that we actually have an icon for the USGA information, so those maps have been publicized. Lori helped the police department. We sent out a mailer. We've had numerous community meetings. They've been televised, so we believe that we've done a phenomenal job in trying to get the appropriate information out. As far as Haverford Avenue, all the road closures. Our police department been working very closely with PennDOT. All those road closures were coordinated with PennDOT as well as other township officials. And as far as the gratuity, this township has received 0 gratuity in tickets, and I don't anticipate us getting any or selecting any as well. So, yeah,
Okay, and, okay, and on the building, the new building, Dan, would you like to?
Yeah, well, first, with regard to the space analysis, we had a preliminary one done a few years ago, and part of the reason that we hired Chris Gauman was so that he could meet with the township officials and come up with, and his study he did do a complete space analysis, which actually resulted in showing that the police department needed a little more space than we had previously estimated, but based on technology and other infrastructure improvements, the township needed less space. It actually sort of balanced itself out to roughly 40,000 square foot as we had anticipated, but in a different sort of balance. With regard to taxes, when we looked at the numbers, and I'm not from the finance committee, but this would be done with long-term borrowing. The cost of the 2 buildings, based on current borrowing rates that we've had in the last year, it would be estimated that the impact on the median household in the township would be $4,250 per year for those buildings. So it's not $1,000 because it's long-term money. It's 30-year notes, because it would be like a mortgage. You wouldn't pay for it with current tax revenue, because that's not how we would do it or any other municipality should. And that's based on our current borrowing and anticipating borrowing with interest rates staying stable.
Thank you. And there's also energy savings that we're not computing into this. There's the sale of this property or the lease of this property and other properties that haven't been included in that number either. So, and as for Ms. Alvarez, we do appreciate you speaking tonight, and we do require permits. We do tell people that they need to have permits, and our codes department is enforcing that, as well as our police department is out there enforcing it. So if you are soliciting, please have a permit. If not, you're going to be, and if you're at home and you get a solicitation, just dial 911, and we'll have somebody come out and check to make sure that they are. Even if you have a question, just make sure you dial 911, and we'll take care of that. All right.
Mario, the rec center came in on
And
budget.
what is the, just out of curiosity, I didn't look at it that fast, but just say Maria dials 911 and they come out, the fellow does have a permit, but we'll say it's 8 o'clock at night. Now, what is the penalty to him, since he should have knocked off at, we'll say 5 o'clock because it was dark then?
Okay. Lori, penalty?
I'm sorry.
The question was if the police arrive for a solicitor after hours, even though they do have a permit, and the police get there and they're not operating towards our ordinance, what is the repercussions?
Violation of the ordinance.
Yeah.
I was gonna,
Penalty.
It's a fine
typically, the
penalty.
police try and
Yeah,
move them on
Do we know what the fine
first.
is, or we have to find out?
$1,000, up to $1,000.
Yeah.
Up to $1,000. Wow. That's a hefty fine.
So I really think that what we should do on that, though, is basically have where they're in violation of the ordinance because of the fact that it's later at night. I believe that they should be penalized where they cannot come back in and solicit. Maybe the first time you just fine them the $1,000. The second time, they just pull the permit and tell them, you're done.
What's the policy on that? That's not in the ordinance, so we don't enforce that, or do we?
We control the permits.
You control the permits.
So we could prohibit them from getting another permit.
Which is a very good idea.
All right.
I like that idea.
Now,
Good idea. It's a good idea.
let's move on to the approval of minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner D'Amelio.
I'd like to make a motion, we approve the regular meeting minutes of April 8th, 2013.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes. Number 7, the approval of warrants. Commissioner Holmes.
Sorry, just to get them on my screen. Thanks, I got them. Mr. President, I move we approve the following warrants. Number 5, 2013, totaling $4,832,557.47. Specifically, the General and Sewer Fund payroll for April 11, 2013, in the amount of $589,538.66. The General and Sewer Fund payroll for April 25, 2013, in the amount of $624,975.35. The General Fund disbursements number 5 of 2013, in the amount of $3,075,721.76. The Sewer Fund disbursements number 5 of 2013, in the amount of $136,249.39. The Community Development Block Grant Fund number 5 of 2013, in the amount of $86,003.45. The Home Grant Fund number 5 of 2013, in the amount of $120,234. Access Equipment Fund number 5 of 2013, in the amount of $9,233.48. Capital Projects Fund disbursements number 5 of 2013, in the amount of $183,749.15. The credit card statement ending April 6, 2013, in the amount of $6,852.23.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
I understand our auditor has been through these today and sent his report and had any questions that he had answered. Unless he says otherwise, I recommend to the board that we approve these.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Stahl?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
No.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes. And number 8.
Motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance number P6-2013, amending and supplementing ordinance number 704, adopted November 13, 1944, and ordinance number 1475, adopted June 15, 1972, and known as Chapter 126, Park Playgrounds and Township Property, to add language regulating the distribution and/or consumption of alcoholic beverages on and/or within the public property of the Township of Haverford.
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
Motion to table.
Second.
Second.
Okay.
2 seconds,
Okay, we
okay.
got 2 seconds. Okay, call the roll. For table.
For table.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes, to table.
What's this?
Mrs. Hall?
Yes to table.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes to table.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes to table.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
Mr. President,
Number 9, ordinance number P10, 2013. Commissioner Holmes.
Mr. President, the motion is to adopt the second reading of ordinance number P10, 2013, authorizing traffic restrictions on the following highways. Parking of commercial vehicles and trucks over 8,000 pounds prohibited, both sides of Chestnut Avenue from Lorraine to Biddle, Lorraine to Wynwood, and Roland to Wynwood Road.
Second.
I think this is the first reading, right?
Well, no, let me explain this, and then let me explain the unusual vote I'd like all of us to take here. This was first adopted at the meeting I was not at, March of 2013. And I've been dealing with an issue with regard to restrictions on parking, commercial vehicles. There weren't weight restrictions. We also have an issue. Chestnut Avenue already has parking prohibited on one side of the street, the entire length of the street. So I would, rather than table this, since this has been read once already, I would ask my fellow commissioners along with me to vote
no to this ordinance. And then I would go back to the police department and talk about either repealing the ordinance entirely that currently governs Chestnut and rewriting it, or going after a particular weight restriction. But this ordinance right now doesn't make sense on Chestnut Avenue. It restricts on both sides, even though we already have a one-side no parking at any time restriction. And the ordinance currently in place restricts people from even parking a van on the street that has the name of their business on the side. And so I need the entire thing redone, and for that reason, because this ordinance has passed once, I would ask everybody to vote no on this particular ordinance.
Okay. Well, you heard what the Commissioner of the Ward said. Let's call the roll.
Did we get a second? I'm sorry. No second.
Oh, second. I thought we had
I think he
a
did.
He
We already had a second.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
already
so there's a motion to
Yeah.
adopt. I'm just letting everybody know that I'll be voting no.
Okay, Mr. D'Amelio.
No.
Mrs. Hall?
No.
Mr. Siegel?
No.
Mr. Holmes?
No.
Mr. McGarity?
No.
Mr. Connell?
No.
Mr. Wexler?
No.
Mr. Heilman?
No.
And Mr. Oliva?
No.
Thank you all. Sorry for the confusion.
Okay, number 10, ordinance number P11, 2013.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance P11, 2013, further revising Chapter 182 zoning, Article 7 supplemental regulations by adding provisions for farmers markets as an accessory use in certain districts and corresponding standards and definitions.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
This is at Grace Chapel, right?
Yes. at Grace Chapel.
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes. Number 11,
Mr.
ordinance
President.
number P12, 2013.
For you. Okay.
Commissioner Siegel?
Motion to adopt the second reading of ordinance number P12, 2013, further amending and supplementing Chapter 130, peddling and soliciting, charitable soliciting and soliciting peddling and other activities by the organizations exempt from registration under Section 130-10 of the chapter, limiting solicitation to between the hours of 9 a.m. and sundown daily.
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
Could we add that, would that be considered a major
Well,
change, to add that wording in there about
Well,
revoking permits or
Well,
not?
let me describe. It's already
Yeah,
in
it
there,
says it
actually.
there,
I went, 130, Section 8, license revocation procedure. Any license issued shall be revoked by the chief of police or his designee upon the failure of the licensee to comply with the rules of conduct. Furthermore,
the ordinance, I remember
the
writing it.
violation and penalties include a fine not exceeding $600 as well as the cost of prosecution. And if you default one payment of the fine and costs, you may spend 30 days in the county jail. So I would say that...
That should do it.
I do think this is an act with teeth. And
I would say so.
I don't think our township, I don't think our citizens should be concerned that we are passing a meaningless ordinance here.
I don't even remember putting that in when I drafted it.
Right, and seriously, call when the people are there, because, and don't necessarily call your commissioner when the people are there, you lose time.
Call 911.
Call 911 and tell them that there are people soliciting, they don't have permits. I get a call each time from the person, and I just turn around and call 911.
Unless it's the commissioner actually at your door. In which case, you should just say
There's
to
a special
them,
exception.
stop doing this
911
now.
Yeah.
Stop
Okay.
doing it.
And it applies to both commercial and residential soliciting. So if you have a business, they can't solicit your business if there's no prior business arrangement. And we see that there were solicitors walking up and down Eagle Road last week. It was a real issue.
All right.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes. Number 12, ordinance number P13, 2013.
Mr. President,
Commissioner Siegel.
Motion to adopt the second reading of ordinance number P13-2013, authorizing the installation of traffic restrictions on the following highway: a stop sign on Charles Drive at the intersection of David Drive, creating a three-way stop sign, and also no stopping or standing on the north side of 1347 Warren Avenue to the dead end.
Motion made. We have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
He just stepped out.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes. Number 13, ordinance number P14, 2013.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner D'Amelio.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the second reading of ordinance number P14-2013 by adding additional language regarding temporary and emergency regulations.
Second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes. Number 14,
Ordinance number P15, 2013, motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance P15, 2013, authorizing traffic restrictions on the following highways. Remove a do not enter sign on the following highway. On the 400 block of Sagamore Road, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. from Wexford to Earlington Road. And establish, no, that's, okay, that's it. Establish a special purpose parking sign on Juniper Road directly in front of entrance to 124.
Second.
motion made and seconded. Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
And Mr. Heimel's still out. And Mr. Oliva?
Yes. Ordinance number P16, 2013.
Mr. President? Motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance number P16, 2013, amending and supplementing ordinance number 1960, adopted June 30th, 1986, and known as the General Laws of the Township of Haverford, further amending and supplementing Chapter 97, graffiti.
Motion
Second.
made and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, wait a minute. I had it here.
Commissioner McGarity?
Yeah, sorry. Removal of graffiti. The owner, tenant, and/or person in control of any building or personal property shall be required to remove the graffiti applied to the property not more than 15 days after such graffiti occurs. Failure to remove graffiti shall be a violation of this chapter. Now, here's one of the problems. A lot of the places these violators are placing this graffiti on are on handicap ramps and walks, which were put in by the federal government. So some of these people, especially the senior citizens, are saying, why am I required to remove the graffiti? Now, here we're saying the senior citizen has 15 days to remove it or we're going to fine them. I think what we should do is anyone that's caught doing any violation that's 16 years old or under, or 18 and under, get them to go out on the when they have the police, they have the what's it called? Community service. When they have that, give them the job of going out and removing this graffiti. I mean, just not long ago, the pastor here tonight from Union Methodist Church, they had somebody do the graffiti on the handicap walk, which was basically slamming God. And truthfully, I felt that, if I had known that, I was on my way up to Wellsboro, but I'd have gone and removed it myself. But I do think that we have to do something about that. And when it's not really their property, just like the grass out here that the state pays us to cut because it's their property, I think something should be done in that case. Or just get the offenders of doing things wrong, breaking into cars or whatever, to go around. That's their penalty. Clean it all up. That's what I would like to see put in this ordinance.
Okay. Mr. Siegel?
Well, two things. I think that's usually imposed as part of the county. I have no problem with it. I think it's a great idea. But I don't know that we can do that. I'd ask the solicitor for that because I just don't know.
No, in the community service, I'm not using the right, you know, our police station, what's that group, chief, down there? What is it?
Yeah, I mean.
The youth aid panel, that's what I'm really talking about. Let them handle it with, giving them the proper
good
tools to
idea.
go out and do it.
I just didn't know the mechanism of how we would arrange that or how it would be in the ordinance.
Could we put it in the public right-of-ways?
I drafted it.
Because that would be a public right-of-way.
Sidewalks, private property.
Well, there is parent,
Well,
there is
your
language for
sidewalk.
parents.
There is
The other,
liability,
sorry.
It's not
No, it's property, that's what you can do in Pennsylvania.
I'm sorry, isn't the sidewalk in the right-of-way? Am I wrong there?
No, the parent stuff that you checked.
It is in the right-of-way.
No, a sidewalk is in the right of way.
By law.
No, I understand. The sidewalk, you're responsible for your sidewalk, but it is in the public right-of-way. And we can say that we would have people from community service come and clean it up.
Yeah, whether it's the handicap ramp or just a block.
Public right-of-way.
Right.
Again, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to get the language out here, whatever you guys want to do here.
No, I'd like to see that, you know, no matter how it is, that somebody goes around and cleans it up. I mean, right down here on Brayburn Road, that's been there for 2 months, and
I checked it.
there's nothing happening there. And I just think that in 2 months' time, I'm sure we've had some people down the police station there that have had the community, well, not whatever they call it, to go out, the youth aid panel. They could certainly get somebody out there. We'll supply the spray and all that and the brushes, let them clean it up.
And I had one other comment. In section 97.3, I would ask that we amend that to remove the phrase to the word intentionally. Right now, it says no person shall intentionally deface or otherwise damage any public or private property, and that makes the entire enforcement of the ordinance based on trying to figure out if someone intended to do it. To me, no person shall do it, period. It shouldn't matter what their intent was. If they're putting graffiti on a property, that should be sufficient. So I would ask that we amend the ordinance to remove the word intentionally in section 97.3.
That's correct,
Is
yep.
that a substantive change?
It's the first reading, so, it's the first reading, so.
Oh, that's right, okay, it's a first reading,
But
okay.
I mean, it does appear as though the board is at least considering perhaps changing the language of 97.6 to removal of graffiti if we're going to add that youth aid panel, removing it, so we can do that for the second reading.
Yeah, why don't we why don't we just include in 97.6 that the owner, tenant, or person in control, can appeal to the township or some entity about its issues. Then we could figure out what to do next. I mean, just some kind of out for the owner, tenant, and person who makes some type of,
That they could appeal to the township to
claim
have.
to us, yeah.
And then we would have the youth aid panel.
Yeah, I mean, and I would do that, I mean, I would, within B, there's a 1, a 2, and, you could put a 3 there that just says, such owner, tenant, or person in control may, within 15 days of the, of getting the graffiti, appeal to the township for, under special circumstances for assistance in removing the graffiti. And at that point, township manager could figure it out.
Criteria for special circumstances.
Well, rather than try to list every special circumstance, we just say that the removal of it would create some kind of hardship. Put like a hardship exception in there, and then they can make their case.
Sounds like we're rewriting it. Why don't we send it back and then get it the right way we want it and then vote on it?
But I mean,
you're adding sections, you're taking away this, you're doing that.
No,
you're
but
changing.
I mean, it's our first reading, so right now, if anybody's comfortable with anything they want to do, we can talk about it, we can put it in, and then if everybody's happy with it between the first and the second reading, it'll be good law a month from now, as opposed to putting it off 30 days. I mean, Jimmy raises a very good point, which is there's no exception 97.6. I think that's a mistake. I think there should be some type of exception. I think if we simply insert a hardship exception for those three, we'll then figure that out as we go along. We're not going to end up in the United States Supreme Court over a hardship exception to graffiti removal, so I'm just really not worried about that. But we should put it in there. Dan raises a good point about intentionally. This will all become a fight about intent, and some graffiti artist is going to say, I wasn't trying to deface it, I was trying to speak my piece about anti-establishment this or that. So remove intentionally, that removes.
I'd ask that between we get it for the second reading, to have the correct language so we can read it and make an intelligent vote.
Absolutely.
Right, no, absolutely. But I mean, would people agree that the first reading here, with the changes we discussed now, and any other changes anybody could think of, that people are willing to vote on this as discussed right now?
If it comes back for the second reading and you find out that there are significant changes, then at that point.
Correct.
Then it
From
can
what we've
become a
discussed
first.
tonight.
If not, then it goes through as ordinance.
Just made a comment, and any changes anybody can think of, well, that would change it dramatically by next month, so.
But I think you have two motions to amend on here, and I don't know that either was seconded, or if they were, I've lost track of it, maybe Larry has.
Let me make one. Let's make one motion to amend the motion, the ordinance as drafted to include two provisions. One, remove the word intentionally from the prohibited acts section in 97.3, and to add in 97.6B3 a new section that we will call a hardship exception to the owner, tenant, or person in control of the building. So with those changes, does somebody, whoever seconded the
I don't know who
motion, do they
seconded
agree to those
it
changes?
first time. Who seconded it? I think.
Or whoever proposed the motion, are they
I
okay
will
with
accept that, Mr. Commissioner.
Okay. All right. Call roll.
Mr. Diamino?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
that? Yes.
McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes. Number 16, ordinance number P17, 2013.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner D'Amelio.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance P17, 2013, amending and supplementing ordinance number 1960, adopted June 30th, 1986, and known as the General Laws of the Township of Haverford, further amending and supplementing Chapter 49, Animals.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion?
Lori, you want to?
Lori,
Is Lori
you
still
want to
here?
come up and?
And I think he's.
Yes, Lori.
Hey, give us a brief 45-minute summation of this.
Nice guy. I worked with the solicitor's office to draft some amendments to the code. We cleaned up some of the old language relative to the Department of Health regulating some of these provisions, and added some requested language with respect to the control of cats.
It's about the cats, yeah.
No questions?
Any other? Go ahead.
Lori, it addresses several different kinds of animals, not just the cats. And I'm just curious, there's this kind of wave of chickens coming through the nation.
And the commissioner's right, because I'm getting questions about chickens.
Yes, I am also getting questions about chickens. We've discussed the chicken issue.
I actually have a neighbor that hasn't moved in yet, but she moved in her roosters and chickens, and it's waking up the neighbors at like 5 a.m., and she's not even living in the house yet.
Yeah, it's an issue, the roosters and the chickens. So
Great way to meet your neighbors.
Okay, this may be for,
I'm just wondering if we should address that within this and possibly.
table the motion and
the
then
township-
address.
Lori, correct me if I'm wrong.
You do have regulations
Yeah, I
in
guess.
place for as small animals.
Right.
You already have regulations in place.
For farm animals.
And, but they include large animals, cats, horses, cows,
It says bovine, yeah.
and there was, and sheep.
Right.
And then small animals, and that includes fowl.
So no
It
chickens
does.
are allowed, right?
You would have to meet certain requirements for housing them, and certain lot sizes in order to keep them. You wouldn't be able to go into a very small, densely developed neighborhood Right, and put a chicken coop in. You wouldn't be permitted to do that.
Does the acre apply here that's written within this ordinance?
There is, I don't remember because it's been a while, if the
Okay.
acre is just for the large animals
That's
and a
what I-
half acre for the small animals.
I was-
Because
yeah.
there were two different versions of the ordinance.
Okay.
And I think, Lori, you're also, you covered the disturbance.
The noise.
The noise disturbance.
Well-
So, and that goes for any animal, dogs, cats, chickens, roosters.
Correct. And we did was we imported some of the language that we could keep from the existing regulations. So a lot of this is just stating some of the existing language for nuisances.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
One question.
Commissioner Siegel.
If Section 4915 says that the animals are taken to the Chester County Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, and just from what I read in the newspapers, and there's been all kinds of issues with SPCA's and stuff, is there a reason we designate one place as opposed to, what is the an appropriate location for the township? Because this ties us to that facility
We're
indefinitely.
in contract with them, with all the other townships in Delaware County.
Okay. But what if the contract changes, then, I don't know why we have to specify one, we're in contract, we'll take them there, but
Yeah,
I don't know
well,
why
I
it should
mean, if
say
you
to
want-
an appropriate facility
Designated
or designated facility, exactly.
Make a motion
Right.
to amend it to say or like
Okay.
facility.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. You amended?
I would move to amend it to say the Chester County Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals or similar facility.
Made the motion.
I'll accept that.
Steve made it.
Wait, no, you have to. You second it?
Second, I'll second that.
Okay. You both have to.
We both accept it.
Okay, both accepted. All right.
Accept it, yeah.
Accept.
Okay. Call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio.
Yes.
Mrs. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes.
Mr. McGarity.
Yes.
Mr. Connell.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Heilman.
Yes.
And Mr. Lee.
Yes. Commissioner Siegel?
Motion to adopt the first reading of ordinance number P18, 2013, amending Chapter 126, Parks, Playgrounds, and Township Property to add language regulating the periodic rental of public property of the Township of Haverford.
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
Motion to table.
Second.
This is part of the,
Yes. This is part of the other ordinance.
right.
too. Okay, motion made to table. Call the roll.
Second.
Mr. D'Amelio. For table.
This is to table this
Table.
ordinance.
Yes.
Mrs. Hall.
Yes.
Mr. Siegel.
Yes to table.
Mr. Holmes.
Yes, to table.
Mr. McGarry.
Yes.
Mr. Connell.
Yes.
Mr. Wexler.
Yes.
Mr. Heilman.
Yes.
Mr. Oliva.
Number 18, resolution number 1886, 2013.
Mr. President.
Commissioner Holmes.
Mr. President, I move we adopt Resolution 1886 of 2013, declaring the official intent of our township with respect to reimbursement from proceeds of bonds, notes, or other indebtedness of temporary advances made for capital expenditures and related matters, providing for severability and setting forth an effective date.
Motion made. We have a second?
Second.
Mr. President, as we have been discussing for several months now, and as was shown to us earlier in today's meeting, there are capital expenditures that have been made and capital expenditures that need to be made by this township for addressing its aging or otherwise inadequate infrastructure. This step, the reimbursement resolution, is important people understand. This is not the incurrence of debt at this point. It is the statement by us that if we do incur tax-exempt debt, we will be able to reimburse ourselves for certain money that we have already spent and other monies that we may spend between now and the time we fund such expenditures. It is a necessary step to take before we do a bond issue, and we note we have to identify projects when we do a reimbursement resolution. Those projects are identified as Exhibit A to resolution number 1886. Those projects include design and construction of a new 5,300 square foot municipal vehicle maintenance building, and appurtenances there too. demolition of the existing township police station and design and construction of a new combined 42,000 square foot police station and municipal administration building, refunding the Delaware Valley Regional Finance Authority $5 million loan, which we took out in 2012, payment and costs of expenses related to the issuance of the reimbursement bonds. We have obviously been in meetings with Gordon Walker, our township financial advisor, as well as Mr. Matt Losky of our solicitor's law firm, who is expert in these areas. He drafted this ordinance, and I recommend this resolution, and I recommend that we adopt it.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Any other discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner D'Amelio?
I think it was a great presentation by Dan and the Property Committee. I just have some concerns and I have some thoughts, and I was thinking about former Commissioner Andy Lewis, who once talked about this building we're in right now and possibly going up in this building. I don't know if that was looked at, because I remember him bringing that up
Okay.
a while ago.
We can discuss that, but this is just a
Yeah.
reimbursement
Oh,
resolution.
okay, I'm sorry.
We can discuss that later.
So, all right, I was voicing my concern about some things, that's all.
Thank you, Commissioner. And
Yeah, and just so you're aware, the description of the project is both general enough, and the laws around the official intent enables us, provides us a great deal of flexibility in what we ultimately do with these. So we don't need to be specific to the, to the address and the dollar amount and the size of the building, as much as we indicate our intent to do these particular capital expenditures. And by these capital expenditures, we're talking about replacing a township building, replacing the police, doing the work of the public works yard, and more important, reimbursing the Del Val pool loans, which we all, as a board, unanimously agreed last year was going to be a good, cheap, short-term use of money, but not the proper long-term way for us to finance it. And we were always going to take it out with longer-term general obligation bonds.
Yeah, and this is 10 million replacing the 5, but with the other projects, it's not, this couldn't fund any of the, it could not fund a township building.
Well, what we have in mind, and I'll raise it now, and it's worth noting, that it's 2013, $10 million of bonds, which enables us to be bank qualified, get us an even lower price out in the market for these bonds, and then be able immediately in 14 to be able to do another 10, and that should really cover everything we're talking about, as well as refinance anything that needs refinancing.
all right.
Can I ask the township manager, Mr. Gentili, how do you feel about this?
The reimbursement resolution?
Yeah, the different buildings and things like that, they're talking about the public works yard, the police station, the township building. In fact, this room right here, what are your feelings on that?
I've been involved with all the discussions. I am in support of everything that the committee and Mr. Siegel presented.
Okay. Ready?
Yep.
Call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
No.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
I can only say I've been coming to this room for over 42 years, and there's no doubt that a change is needed. And I have to say that what they're proposing with the police station and things like that, as much as I don't want to spend the money, and I'm a pretty good conservative and all that, I vote yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
That's good.
Number 19, Mr. Wexler.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adopt Resolution 1887-2013, approving the minor subdivision plan for Joseph E. and Mary Audrey E. Kodarska, 1504 Steel Road, Haverford Township, Delaware County, and known as DC Folio numbers 22-09-00092-00, hereinafter referred to as Parcel A, and 22-09-02313-00, hereinafter referred to as Parcel B, has been submitted to permit the existing Parcel A, a 49,543 square foot lot, to transfer 12,531 square feet to Parcel B, creating a 62,074 square foot lot and a 36,979 square foot lot. The subject property is zoned R4 Residential District and is located in the 9th Ward. The aforesaid plans were prepared by Herbert E. McCombie Jr., professional engineer, consulting engineers and surveyors, Broomall, Pennsylvania, dated March 17th, 2013, subject to compliance with recommendations of the Planning Commission.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
Okay.
Number 20, resolution number 1889,
Wait a minute. Where am I?
2013.
Hold on, Mario. I'll be right there. Where am I in here?
Miss,
Subdivision
Well,
at
I was gonna say, do you
326
wanna
Kenmore
use
Road.
this?
you want to take it?
Hold on, yeah, Jimmy wants to do
I
it.
got
Okay.
it. Yeah. Just turned it to. No, wait a minute. I don't have a page.
It's in 20.
Okay.
I think it's in the four, I don't think it's in the.
We're ready.
All right. Okay, the Planning Commission of Haverford Township at a public meeting on Thursday, April 25th, God bless you, 2013, did vote to recommend approval of the plan subject to the following recommendations and cited sections of the general laws of the Township of Haverford, and we're talking about 326 Kenmore Road. Here it is, and it's the John and Gail Ryer, known as Portfolio 220708-00848-00, has been submitted to permit the existing 12,500 square foot parcel to create two 6,250 square foot lots. The subject property is owned R4 Residential District and is located in the, it says 7th Ward. The aforesaid plans were prepared by Catania Engineering Associates, Millmont Park, dated March 25th, subject to compliance of the Planning Commission.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
Mr. Oliva?
Yes. Resolution number 1890, 2013. Commissioner Connell?
Oh,
Cable, but, okay. It's a cable.
okay.
It's Siegel? I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Dan.
That's not a big deal.
Siegel.
Motion to adopt resolution number 1890-2013, that the date of the Cable TV Haverford Public Access Corporation Board of Directors meetings will be held on the second Wednesday of every month at 7:30 PM in the Commissioners' meeting room unless otherwise advertised.
Second. Oh, Chris is seconded.
Motion made and seconded. Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
Yes.
Mr. Connell? Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes. Resolution number 1891, 2013.
Mr. President, motion to adopt resolution number 1891, 2013, the land development plan for DN Group LLC, 162 West Eagle Road, Haverford Township, Delaware County, and known as DC Folio number 2203-00926-00, has been submitted to demolish a portion of the existing commercial building at a second story and reconfigure the parking facilities. The first level of the existing building will remain a commercial use, and the upper level of the building will consist of one residential apartment. The subject property is zoned C3 Commercial District and is located in the 3rd Ward. The aforesaid plans were prepared by Momini Associates, Inc., Bryn Mawr, PA, dated February 26, 2013, subject to the recommendations of the Planning Commission.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
No.
Mr. Siegel?
Wait a minute.
No.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarry?
No.
Mr. Connell?
No.
Mr. Wexler?
No.
Mr. Heilman?
No.
And Mr. Oliva?
No.
I really don't.
All right, moving on. Number 23, appointment of bond counsel. Mr. Holmes?
Mr. President, as part of the proposal from Mr. Walker and as in preparation for us borrowing money in the public market, we solicited bond counsel proposals. We received them from three terrific law firms, Reed Smith, Cozen O'Connor, and Saul Ewing. I personally know the municipal finance attorneys at all three of those firms. I've worked with them in the past. They're all excellent. One law firm in particular provided a proposal significantly lower than the other proposals, and for that reason, I recommend that we appoint the law firm of Reed Smith LLP as the Township of Haverford's bond counsel. Its fee that it has offered is $14,000 plus expenses. Those expenses not to exceed $500. That is an extraordinary fee and different by a significant factor from the other proposals that were made. And William Richter himself would be the person in charge, and I certainly know Bill and know he'll do a professional job.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion to appoint Reed Smith. Motion made and seconded. Please call the roll.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Mr. Holmes and I don't always agree, but I agree with him on this one.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Holman?
Yes.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes.
All you, the professionalism. Future financings.
Mr. D'Amelio?
Yes.
Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Holman?
Yes.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes. Number 25, purchases, ADA Comfort Station.
Mr. President.
Mr.
Motion
Siegel.
to award an ADA Comfort Station sales contract to Modern Precast Concrete of Easton, Pennsylvania in the amount of $41,000, submitting the lowest responsible quote.
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
This was in the budget, correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yep.
Just
And
making
this
sure.
is the final step in finally getting a bathroom at Paddock. That is the number one issue I have heard from residents for years.
You
So,
gotta keep that nasty portalave up just for
The nice
old
one in
sake.
yeah, it's just
Elsewhere.
charming, yes. So I appreciate the board's support on this because this is, for that neighborhood, something they have been asking for. And I still think it's the busiest summer playground,
May very well
summer
be.
camp facility.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the township, so it's very warranted. And with the proximity to the Y and everything, that,
The Daniel Siegel Comfort Station.
yes. I don't get a rest station on the turnpike,
Oh,
so.
boy. All right. Let's call the roll.
We'll get a plaque for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. D'Amelio?
You got yours coming over with the other one.
Yes, on the Daniel Comfort Station.
Okay. I'm
Yes.
sorry, Mrs. Hall?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Yes.
Mr. Holmes?
Absolutely.
Mr. McGarity?
Yes.
Mr. Connell?
Yes.
Mr. Wexler?
Yes.
Mr. Heilman?
Yes.
And Mr. Oliva?
Yes. The continuation of citizens forum for non-agenda items. Anybody in the audience like to speak? Oh, I'm sorry, you're being blocked over here. Amy, you're blocking Dick Hausworth. Come on up, Mr. Hausworth.
Not know Mr. Ellsworth. He dresses better than
still at 129 Landover, though.
He's still at 129 Landover, hasn't moved
Got the
yet.
same name, the same address, hopefully for many more years.
29
Not one
Landover.
word was said about this coming holiday. It's called Memorial Day. Years ago, it used to be called Decoration Day. It was started right at the time of the Civil War, part of the Civil War. When they went out and they decorated the graves of the fallen soldiers. They don't recall Memorial. Today, it's the day some American Legion, some groups put flags on the graves of veterans. It was a Philadelphia service. Before the house started. I had an uncle, so I have all the respect. Military and law and order. But I'm getting sick and tired. Yes, the policemen do suffer. Yet every day over there in Afghanistan, do we hear about it? Do we give a damn? No. When it comes time to bring them home, you might see a picture of them bringing a box off of Air Force Base. I'm glad to hear one of our commissioners not involve me. I was a resident of Philadelphia when I enlisted in World War II. Policemen killed in action. If there's one thing else to it, a policeman has it, no military or woman goes to work, if something happens to them in their line of duty, they have one thing they don't ever worry about before it happens. If their family will ever go hungry if they lose their home. But I still think, and I'm not belittling the policemen, I'm not being cruel, I'm not being thoughtless, but I've been sick and tired of how ours. Like a perfect question, how many handicapped veterans has Township hired? Yes, what an ideal job for a man who had his legs blown off. Be sitting at the desk. How many in this veterans have we? I wish we'd give some more thought to the veterans, along with all the other people that are serving the public. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dick Hounsworth. And anyone else like to speak? Okay, there being none, moving on. Anybody for new business? Any new business? There being none, we'll move to other business. Commissioner D'Amelio.
Thank you, Mr. President, and Mr. Hausworth is right. I mean, we were two veterans served in the Battle of the Bulge, and we can't forget them and the sacrifices that the veterans are making, both men and women today, in the service in Afghanistan. And we hope that each of them comes home peacefully. And having said that, you know, there was a war, World War II, there's this war, but the police kind of are in a different situation. It's like a war here because you never know what's going to happen. Terrorists trying to destroy the United States. But let me say a little bit about the Police Week. Which designated May 15th as Police Officers Memorial Day. It falls as Police Week. Currently, tens of thousands of law enforcement officers from around the world converge on Washington, D.C. to participate in a number of planned events paid the ultimate sacrifice. So it is an important event, and it's just as well as Memorial Day. And the township does have a ceremony here. The police organize that down at Veterans Field, and that'll be on Monday, the 27th, correct? What time is that? So the residents?
11 a.m.
11 a.m. I want a meeting at the Manoa Fire Station to meet with the residents about the pavilion again. I think we're going to solve that, so I haven't heard any feedback yet, but thank you for taking time out of your Saturday schedules to attend that meeting. Certainly appreciate it, and the residents appreciate it. It's given a chance for the residents to have some input, and we have done that throughout this process. We have met multiple times to talk about the pavilion and make sure everyone's comfortable about it. And I want to thank the Westgate Hills Civic Association for helping to get the word out about these meetings. Finally, with the warm weather coming, although you would never know it because it's like March lately, the school district, the school's going to be letting out, schools will be letting out shortly, and keep in mind that children are out on their bikes and running around. I got a reminder of that today on my way home when a young kid on a bike came right out in the street and almost gave me a heart attack, but just to be not to go right out in the middle of the intersection, to be mindful of automobiles, and for everyone else to slow down during this time as school starts to let out. And that is it. Thank you.
Commissioner Hall?
I'd like to say that our next Commissioners' voting session will be open. So I'd like to thank the police office, everyone in the police department. You'll be incredibly busy up and thank Larry, well, our township managers and assistant managers and everybody involved have done an incredible job. I also like to say that there's an amazing amount of misinformation, even after everything that the township has tried to do and everything that they've tried to be as clear as possible, that there's still misinformation out there. And including all those houses on Gulf House Road, those were all negotiated several years ago, sir, with the USGA. Marion could not have the US Open without those properties. So they were not, they did, but it's changed dramatically since 1981, the number of, I was not, but it's changed dramatically, and I think that if everyone can just pull together and know that this is an incredible event for our township and for our surrounding area, and that it really will be fun. So I think if we put a good spin on it and thank all the people that have worked in incredible hours and will continue to do so, and just move forward and enjoy it. Thank you.
Commissioner Siegel?
I would echo what Commissioner Hall said, and I would emphasize to residents, please, if you have questions, contact your commissioner, or better yet, the police at the email address, which is 2030 havepd. Date information. You'll be receiving the newsletter shortly. My website has information. Newsletters have them. Those are the reliable sources of information from a friend. A rumor that's just out. Has a life of its own. Please listen to the police. They are very accommodating. They have been exceptional. Every constituent issue that's been raised, they have resolved quickly, efficiently, and to the satisfaction of everyone. But it is a major undertaking. So I commend them and I thank them because they're making what is a obviously stressful event as doable as possible. So thank you. The other point, I want to thank the board for approving the Paddock Comfort Station. It is really something that is long overdue, so thank you. Also, for residents, the park board recently approved something that I've just learned about, pickleball, which is played at the rec center, very popular among seniors, and will now be available 2 mornings a week at the Paddock Playground. It was brought to my attention by one of the constituents in my my ward, and it is extremely popular. I knew nothing about it. I went online and searched and discovered it. So that is something new, and I commend the Park Board and the Rec Center for adding something that is, in some places, extremely popular, and hopefully it will be here as well. And with that, I thank everyone and have a nice holiday. One last thing for my constituents, I will be away on a business trip the week of Memorial Day. Town that entire week.
Thank you, Commissioner Siegel. Commissioner Holmes?
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank the members of the police department who came to a rather lively 6th Ward constituent meeting on April 10th. There was obviously a great deal of concern in the 6th Ward with regard to the parking and traffic issues surrounding the U.S. Open. We are still working through the final details of those, and we'll be sending out information to everybody in the 6th Ward, and perhaps, if we can, having one not walled. But the meeting was certainly conducted very being a about really, frankly, how exciting it's going to be. To be great. Before that event takes place, though, we will have Memorial Day, and I hope everybody pauses from their plans for the summer or their plans for the Open or their plans for the last days of school to take that day and to thank who paid the ultimate price for our country to enable us all to be here tonight and have some fun with one another and disagree with one another, or every once in a while, like Mr. Garrity and me, maybe agree with one another. And none of that 50 years of faithful service of our veterans. And we should stop that day, stop thinking their sacrifice. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. President.
Commissioner Harmon?
First, as commissioner-elect, so it's been going on for quite a while, and I will be also very happy when it's over. So everybody enjoy it. It is a great thing for the township. The police have done a phenomenal job. Deputy Chief Viola was serious. I mean, I'm looking at the times at some of these emails that they answer, and they're literally 2:30, 3 o'clock, whatever in the morning. So I want to thank you guys. You've been phenomenal. So, and Public Works as well. The island there by the O'Brien track looks phenomenal at Ardmore and Haverford Roads, and
oh, that's beautiful.
It's really.
Commissioner McGarrett.
Number one, down in Brookline, the businesses are coming along just fine. They're ahead of schedule. And everything's looking good. The looks now, if we have that project done, and Brookline will really look like Brookline should look. Number two, Chris Connell will talk to you about Savor the Flavor. That's the next Savor the Flavors in June before our meeting, so that's a big event for the Grange Estate. Number three is Memorial Day down at the Circle, down at the Veterans Park. On the 27th, and hope everybody can try and make it that day. And it's about 1. Finally, Chris Connell and I have been working on getting a hold of SEPTA schedule for the week of the tournament. And the last that we learned was that they will be running trolleys out of 69th Street every 10 minutes. So that's a plus. And I would suggest to most of the people in the 7th or 8th wards, go down to your P&W station at West Overbrook, Penfield, Beechwood, Brookline, Wynwood Road. Take the trolley up to Ardmore Avenue. Get off at Ardmore Avenue. Get off there. And believe me, if you go up there to park, first of all, if you find a spot, God bless you, and it's going to cost you about $50. If you take the train, it's going to cost you maybe $2, unless you're as old as I am, and you might get a free ride.
Well, let me add something there that the train stations walk. Don't drive your car to the train station because we just don't have any room to park. So Savor the Flavors on June 6th. The Grange has it every year to raise funds for Friends of the Grange. And it's on a Thursday from 6 to 9 p.m. A lot of the local businesses, well, the restaurants pitch in and donate their time and their food to raise the money here. And also, you'll get a couple people there serving you, such as myself. Mr. McGarity will be there serving the wine to the community. You must be 21 and older, please, to drink. So that's Savor the Flavor on the 6th. Going backwards, June 1st, Atlantic Fire Company will have their 100th anniversary celebration, Saturday, the June 1st, from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Everybody in the community is welcome to participate. It's 100 years of service to the community from the Volunteer Fire Company. On the 18th, this Saturday, is the Maniac McGee Run. Chatham Park School is holding the 15th annual Maniac McGee Run for the homeless. This includes a 2-mile run and a 1-mile walk. And gee, it just went out in front of me. And it benefits the Norristown place where it places families. The book that they actually take this from actually takes place about the Norristown Salvation Army. So that's why they donate everything that they raise to the Salvation Army in Norristown. They've already donated $75,000 over the past 14 years. So they're trying to raise $15,000 this year. Please come out to the race. All you have to do is, if you want to join, sign up for it, go to the Chatham Park School website and hit the link there. And that should be everything, I think.
Thank you,
Is that everything, Jim?
No, well, Mr. Connell and myself and Mr. Oliva will be there for this McGee Run, and hope to see you all there.
Commissioner Wexler.
Try and beat you, Jim. Third is the Hilltop Civic Association meeting that Thursday evening, where I hold my normal constituent meeting for the 9th Ward. And then also, I'd like to thank the police department, not so much for the planning of the U.S., not even with their overwhelming planning efforts and the senior staff. Other things have happened in the normal course of business. The Quarry Center has opened. Police presence was required there for new traffic patterns, enforcement along Township Line, and the incremental stuff that goes along with two major sites going in there, with the Lowe's site opening on the 23rd of this month as well. And traffic has been good. The police have responded well to any of the problems there. So I'd like to congratulate the men that were here honoring their Officer of the Year for doing the job elsewhere in the township. Just because we don't have the U.S. Open on the other side of Westchester Pike, we still get the best police support in Delaware County throughout the rest of the time. So thank you very much to those guys. Thank you.
First of all, I'd like to thank Rita's Water Ice, who donated. We had the grand opening on Saturday. They donated $1,000 to the Bureau of Fires for use in they're going to use that for rehab. And we thank Rita's very much. I also want to thank everyone who came to the Darby Creek cleanup on April 28th. Also, we are the Farmers Market. I want to remind everybody the Farmers Market is opening this Wednesday, May 15th at 2 o'clock. And don't forget to vote on Election Day. It is May 21st. This, a week from, yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
A week from tomorrow. So please, and have a great Memorial Day.